T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yeah, you're gonna need it for this episode.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is a soon-to-be drunk Hermes and tequila margarita making Hades. Manga.
That's me.
It's really good.
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
It's really good. I enjoyed it.
Saved it just for you. Although his margarita's gone. So if we get a drink count, Mike's at 2. I'm at half. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
That's what's up.
We are back, guys. It's that time of the month again. No, not that time. Don't get excited. Just kidding.
If only I came once a month. Sorry, I have to jizz real quick. I can't control it.
Fuck. We're here to talk to you about big Leo energy.
Yeah.
Because Leo season has like the big pow pow this year. This is the much anticipated, star-studded, just fucking chaotic transits that are coming in Leo season.
The shit show after the shit show after the shit show before the shit show.
I mean, at least Leo is gonna be the sign to like usher in the drama.
Yes.
Right? Like this is like the finale and the plot twist and everything that we've really been waiting for some time.
After a messy ass Cancer season.
Fuck. As we're filming this, it's still messy ass Cancer season, so we don't actually know what materialized. We try to make these a couple weeks in advance. So sometimes we'll talk about stuff and then it happens and we have no idea from what you can see, but I'm anticipating that whatever kind of went on the first half of July versus the second half of July is just going to be very eventful. So let's get into it. Leo season starts. It kicks off on July 23rd. Sun ingresses into Leo. The sun rules Leo. And we're coming into what's going to be a very action-packed week ahead between a new moon in Leo that we're going to have, the Mars-Uranus North Node conjunction. You're going to see in the next episode.
Leo just wants all the attention. Damn.
We're going to take it through the 12 signs, so you guys will hear about that.
Jupiter retrograde.
Jupiter retrograde.
Right on my Mars, too. I can't wait for that.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
I have this feeling that this Jupiter retrograde, especially because it's at an 8, that we start to see like the alchemical transformative process right when Jupiter's going retrograde, but we don't actually get the goodies until it comes back in the new year.
Which, just to speak about Jupiter real quick, I thought it was, I don't know if this is a new trend, but it kind of happened for Aqua, but it took 5 months for Jupiter to just fly through Pisces.
Yep.
Then when it goes in Aries, it's going to take from January to May. Boom, it's in Taurus, like middle of the year. So then it'll retrograde back to Aries and then go back 2024. So this is really interesting.
Well, we get a little bit of a preview, right?
Yeah.
So like this year, we get a little bit of a preview of Jupiter in Aries just to kind of see what the universe has in store for us next spring. And next year, we're going to see it dip into Taurus. So yeah, Jupiter moves pretty quick before its first retrograde. It's kind of what I've noticed.
I think what had happened before is it would go all the way to the end of the sign, then retrograde in the sign, and then move forward. And now we're seeing it like blend both, which is, I like the sneak peek of that.
Jupiter, like when we had Jupiter in Aquarius, it was kind of different because it was in a Saturn-based sign, and also Saturn was in Aquarius, so it was kind of like sweet and salty. And then this last 6 to 8 months of having had, Jupiter in Pisces, there's been no boundaries, right? It's just been like absorbing everything, this huge boom in like technological advances and screens and artificial reality and like lots of more emphasis, I think, on just, anything in regards to like metaphysics. Seeing that shift though when it went into Aries was quite fascinating because it moved with Mars and it moved with the moon. And I really liked having Jupiter in Aries. Like, I know that maybe people are going to kind of be more inclined to really enjoy Jupiter in Pisces more. But I feel like Jupiter in Pisces is just returning back just to remind us to, like, stay high vibe and, like, be praying and holding space and like visualizing and like meditating. But I like Jupiter in Aries, and Jupiter's going to stay in Aries for a while. It's going to be there until the fall. I think it's like the end of October or maybe November.
Scorpio season. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before it dips back into the sign of
That's
Pisces.
gonna be a spooky Halloween. That's for goddamn
There's an eclipse
sure.
right before Halloween too.
Yeah, that's gonna be it right there, right next to our Plutos. But the thing that's really crazy is, you know, as you were talking about Jupiter, I was waiting for you to get the Aries because people start getting shot left and right. Like, this person died from a bullet wound, this person got shot, that person got shot.
We've
Like,
had a few mass shootings that have happened also since the ingress. And I'm not one to be like, oh, I told you so. Because I think the astrology talks about what could manifest. It never really pinpoints that something will manifest. However, 4th of July weekend, we saw that Mars in Aries square Pluto perfect, and then we saw another shooting that happened in just outside of Chicago. So, you know, it's I think it's going to be kind of reviewing and rolling back and looking at legality and rights and legislation in relation to our personal rights when it comes to self-defense. It's very Jupiter and Aries. But I like that Leo season is going to form a number of trines to Jupiter. So there does seem to be, especially right off the bat, as the sun moves into Leo, Mercury is in a trine to Jupiter. So that's already like good news, optimism, excitement, the opportunity to be able to like share what we're really passionate about with other people. And you got to take the wins when you can this year, because it's just, you know, Sky Daddy just keeps on fucking
so
keeping
funny.
on.
I like that trine. That trine sounds and looks really fun. People are going to be in their heart. They're going to be just expressing so magnanimously how much they don't give a fuck. And it's going to be dramatic as hell. I think a lot of infighting is going to happen, and I'm going to be the Gemini instigating all of this. So
I love that fire
happy.
signs and fire trines
They're
especially is like fucking burn it down.
Yeah, especially in Sag. Especially in Sag, yeah.
Burn it down. So it'll be interesting to see that trine kind of perfect. And then you've also got like a sextile to the moon.
Leo's more like a
happening.
bonfire, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like a community fire. Like, we can
Yeah.
all talk shit to each other.
Yeah, it's kind of like
opposite
the stage in which we all share. I see like Leo's kind of like show and tell, or like the talent show.
Right.
You know?
The talent show for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I also am watching, so Jupiter will go retrograde. I think it's like right around the time that those big transits are happening. Something else to kind of watch is also going to be right around the 26th when Mercury in Leo forms a square to Mars in Taurus. Arguments much?
Leo forms a square to Mars and Taurus. Okay, arguments much for sure. And I got caught up in your talent show analogy. Because Leo season really is a talent show. You got the judge in Aquarius, like Simon Cowell, like, that was trash. You suck. They got the Cancer being, oh, what the heck? Oh, you're delusional. No, I'm the best. So I can't wait to just see people embarrass the shit out of themselves in the name of love and other such ideals. I feel like Leo just adds more of a pizzazz to it. But yeah, I mean, arguments that will get unpredictably physical. I can see a lot of people getting jumped too, just out of nowhere. And that's the key thing here. Like, this is basically the universe letting all of us out to play in recess. You know, we're getting social here. And I spoke to someone earlier today, fellow Gemini, shout out to you, and she said something that was amazing. She was like, yeah, Virgo season was my favorite season last year. I was like, that was mine too. And I got the sense that we're going to get Virgo season part 2 this Virgo season. And that means Leo season leads all into that. You know, a bunch of facts that are about to be revealed. So do you feel they might, try and latch on to mandates again, Leo season? Or
I feel like we're going to start hearing about that, but I think the oppositions between Leo and Saturn is going to be artists and younger people fighting back, or just people being like, you're a fucking conspiracy theorist. And then Libra season's going to hit, and we're going to start to see, all of the trines to Saturn. And I think we're also going to see probably, it actually might start right around the full moon in Aquarius. I don't know if you've looked at that yet, but the full moon in Aquarius is conjunct Saturn. But I think come Libra season, we're going to realize, there is more restrictions. But the restrictions are going to be more like, oh, we're restricting this because of environmental reasons, and like they're going to use the environment agenda to push the further of like tech advancement and anything in relation to sacrifices that the collective is making, and going more towards like a digital system.
Do you think we might see a decrease in gas prices or an even bigger rise?
I feel like, I mean, gas is very much associated with like Pluto, and I feel like part of the transits that are going to be happening with like the Mars North Node Uranus is going to be like perhaps Biden coming out or something going, congratulations, we found this amazing new, like, we found a ton of natural gas. This is the solution. Or we have the solution to the energy crisis. Buy electric vehicles and solar panels, and we're going to put up new windmills because Uranus deals with air and Taurus deals with earth. So there's going to be new advancements in energy, but it's being created. You know, the Saturn square to all of this is really fascinating to me. And I feel like I'm loving that all of the placements in Taurus are superior because it's the right-hand side of Saturn. So when you see the square happening from the right-hand side of a planet, Mars and Uranus in the North Node are actually going to be the ones who are going to have more power. So we're going to see like new developments in technology. Farmers are going to start fighting back or like developing unions.
For sure.
Yeah, like really kind of challenging Saturn's agenda. But I mean, and I say this, like, I'm not like a fear-mongering astrologer, but like I have looked at the astrology for July going into August of 2022 for some time. And I remember looking at that going like, that's when it all goes down. It's going to be Leo season when we see all of these planets, the Sun and Mercury and eventually Venus all move into Leo, will oppose Saturn and will square the nodes, and it's gonna materialize as a grand fixed cross. So a lot of people are in for a rude awakening of the fact that we have to make huge changes and sacrifices, and I think it's going to be the precipice of a lot of financial changes. It's going to be the precipice of kicking off what's going to be, I think, like a total renaissance. And a lot of artists are going to be like, fuck this. And they're going to make murals, and they're going to make music, and they're going to write, and they're going to put together plays and things that are really going to be challenging the status quo. And so I think more than anything, that's what I'm really looking to see happen. It's like a lot of like, make art, not war.
I like that. I definitely, notable influencers to look out for. Tory Lanez, Joe Rogan, Young Thugger, President Trump. I really feel like two of those cases might come to a head. We might get verdicts. Maybe not for the Thugger case, but I mean, the Tory Lanez situation is very interesting. Just seeing any Leo or Leo rising come against any public backlash is very interesting because that's the opposition. And in Tory Lanez's case, a literal Aquarius was being used by her label, by management, by Saturn to oppose a Leo. So I don't have any opinions about that.
It's very much like the Johnny Depp stuff too.
Exactly.
Really similar to his it was like his Saturn opposition, right? Or there was a Saturn square that he was dealing with. I think he's got like a Saturn-Venus square conjunction or something that's taking up, and he ended up coming out on top.
Yeah, he's owed millions, and then Disney was like, "Hey, you're hot right now. We'll pay you $310 million. Just do another movie set with us." And I don't know if he'll take that or not, but that was just very revealing to me. You know, like
Leo risings are getting their fucking asses kicked.
I read a Leo rising this morning, and he looked depressed as hell.
It's rough out there.
I felt so bad. I was like, damn, I'm fine with you, soldier.
If you
like,
have some Taurus or Scorpio or Aquarius in your chart, I mean, you don't have to. Just having a Leo rising is enough because you've got the South Node in your 4th, the North Node is in your 10th, with Uranus and Saturn's in your 7th, and it's going to kind of feel like you against the world this month. But that
was his issue, too. The Leo rising I spoke to, he could feel, like, the hidden enemies in the 12th house Cancer transit trying to, like, you know, just, like, undermining his value, and it was like, wow, you're about to break through.
It's really strange. I'm not going to name any names,
Why do I know who you're about
I'm not
to
gonna
talk
name
about?
any names. You know, I know everybody's tea. Like, I don't brag about it, but I have like all of the charts of a lot of major
and receipts.
people.
And
I have
receipts.
all the receipts too.
I was thinking about that too. I was like, that's how I know I'm mature, because if I really wanted to go in on a certain someone, I could just hit up Candace and get some text messages and go in. But I'm like, nah, we good. I'm not gonna do all that.
I have everybody's secrets.
This is Scorpio shit. That's some Haiti shit. It's crazy.
And I don't even have to like make threats, because I kind of feel like people are gonna hang themselves. But let's just say,
and they come to you too. Oddly, it's not like you look for them.
Everybody tells me their secrets, and oddly enough, like certain people who have been struggling or who have been having challenges or whatever, like some of these people are people who I like really look up to. So it's really weird being like, oh wow, okay, this person fell off or that person fell off, whether it's like an artist or an astrologer or a creative, like whatever. There's a number of them right now. These people, for whatever reason, I feel like are really just getting hit hard to see like if they're going to be knocked off the hill. Like, because a lot of these Leo rising, especially if they have Taurus placements in the 10th, they have this like sense of like being king, and they're kind of getting rocked a little bit. So it's been really strange for me to kind of see this happen.
It's a huge character arc, coming of age kind of thing for some, but definitely like, to me, the Leo risings this is their character arc. Are they going to decide to maintain integrity and be the hero?
Yeah.
Or are they going to go through a whole villain era? And a lot of them are going through a villain era, and I'm just like, word, that's so interesting. Because it's Leo. I'm here for it. Right,
I'm here for dinner and a show. Burn it all down, baby. There are some people that I'm like,
that's
yes,
crazy.
And here's the gasoline, and here's the matches, because I'm like here for it. And then there are other people that I'm like, fuck, like this sucks. Like this person doesn't deserve to be struggling the way that they're struggling. So it's kind of like a weird thing to be in right now, because I'm learning to kind of like have appreciation for the Scorpio South Node transit and kind of being like, okay, it helps me like tune into the fact
Scorpios have
that
been mad low key ever since that South Node. Like, y'all been more quiet than usual. And it's just
I'm just learning to keep my fucking mouth shut. That's what I'm learning. It's just don't say too much. Just listen, pay attention, observe. But it's difficult, and I think that, you know, if you have any real prominent Leo placement, Sun, Moon, or Rising, like big love to you, sending you good vibes in the midst of this, because you will be really feeling the grand fixed cross. Everybody is. And when I say that, we've got transiting planets in Leo. That's going to square the South Node in Scorpio. So it's going to be, is our pride going to take over and make us kind of get jealous, possessive, or not willing to share? We've got squares from Leo to Taurus, which means are we creating because we're passionate and we want to be creative and we want to share and we want to give life, or are we just focused on making money? And then we've also got oppositions to Saturn, which means we're feeling like we're coming up against challenges and oppressive energies and people telling us what we can and cannot do. With that North Node in Taurus, the emphasis is making love, making art, enjoying, indulging what tastes good, what feels good, and like really focusing on building a life of pleasure. And so that's something that's been like coming up a lot for me, like talking to clients and just things that I've been thinking about. That's like, do I enjoy doing this? Okay, no. How has this been ingrained in me to keep doing this thing? Do I have to keep living life this way? And how can I focus more on being able to just do more of like that Taurus North Node? So everyone's going to feel the pinch, basically. And these are in financial angles. So when we look at North Node in Taurus, it's about our food, our money, our banking. Planets in Leo, which is about what we create. It can also be about entrepreneurs. It can be about creatives. It can be about younger people. Scorpio is about debt, taxes, money owed, things in regards to banking and loans and release. And then Aquarius deals with like collective stuff. So I think we're going to see this rise in like, entrepreneurs getting hit with higher taxes, people who are self-employed just continuing to get screwed, artists and other people not qualifying for certain tax incentives, younger people being left holding the bag with the mess that's been made, that's really been going on for generations, but now it's really kind of hitting people who have like those Saturn in Taurus, Aquarius, maybe even Leo a little bit harder.
The good thing about that is that this is the LimeWire generation they're doing that to. So like
we know how to pirate and
exactly
and steal and burn CDs and say fuck the system.
Like that square, like I'll always bring up the Wall Street bets. Like that square always gives us an opportunity the moment they restrict to find a loophole. And whereas Pisces season will reveal, like, I feel once Neptune is at the final degrees, like, so many people have found ways to cheat the system, to really gain loopholes. I don't condone cheating or not cheating the system, but just factually speaking, like, we're entering an era where hackers are going to temporarily, like, take over shit. That to me is like Pluto Aqua-ish, but, you know, and it might not be for too long, but I really, I feel like this is legitimately the very last normal Leo season you will ever have. Because every Leo season after, with the opposition of Pluto,
Yeah.
like, you're going to be like, oh, it used to be like blah, blah, blah. But it is what it is. I'm here for it. That's the Pluto Scorpio's ready.
I
was
feel
also going to
that.
say, too, like, with the Grand Cross, I feel like only Scorpios will really be aware of what's going on. Because y'all are the only ones that are going to have planets there. Whereas everyone else who doesn't won't have that equation, but you're going to connect. So actually, Scorpios are going to have the missing piece of the puzzle during this period. And you might want to be around Hades or Scorpio-like figure. If you want
I'm like
to
acting so crazy having like the South Node stuff on my Sun and my Mercury. I mean, it's just, it's really kind of just materializes this thing where I'm just like, all I can really tune into is what my intuition is telling me and like whatever I have done or worked on or prepared for in a past life. But in the midst of all this, I'm also having nodal squares. So I kind of feel like it's, I'm in no man's land. But I think with what you were saying about like the Scorpio placements, like, you know, if you have a Saturn in Scorpio, a Sun in Scorpio, a Pluto in Scorpio, a Uranus in Scorpio, any of these aspects, this is really going to be a time to lean into that and pay attention, because you can be downloading and bringing in all of this stuff from past lives that's really benefiting you and assisting you. So if you have those Scorpio placements, essentially, like, yeah, you can have like the keys to unlocking things. That's very Scorpio.
literally on the South Node too. Like I just realized it was you saying the cross that made me realize, like, oh wow. And the thing that could be frustrating about that is y'all are making real-time realizations that no one else will get. And with Uranus opposite you, people are gonna think you're crazy as fuck.
I have this like intuitive hit, because Taurus is very physical, that we're going to have issues with transactions and the ability to like process transactions and sales, because we're going to have an issue with like energy, or we're going to have an issue with the internet, and or processing issues. I would also say those of you guys who are into crypto, like I've been getting this intuitive hit for a while that's like, stuff's going to really fall apart before it comes back. Right? So if you think you've seen volatility in the crypto markets, I still think there's a lot more coming over the next like month or so. I think we're really going to see a breakdown before a breakthrough. And remember that if you are storing some of your money or your crypto on wallets, make sure it's exchanges that you actually physically have it. There are some that you don't necessarily have it. We're seeing stuff break down all through the crypto communities, unfortunately, right now, where certain companies are going under. And if you do know that you have it and you can transfer it to cold storage, right, because tangible, physical is Taurus, I would say to avoid any potential hacks or anything where certain things get shut down or you can't get your money, put your crypto in cold storage, right? Even if it's just for like the next month or two. I think it's something that's really smart, because I think we're going to see hacks, and I think we're going to see energy stuff and internet stuff have problems, and we're going to have issues getting money out of exchanges, and we're going to have issues making deposits and actually being able to get stuff out of like ATMs and other things. Yeah.
That'll be catastrophic, but in a good way.
So we've got a new moon in Leo. It's going to be taking place right around, it looks like 5 degrees, which is like extra Leo-y.
Yeah, that's the Leo degree, right?
Yeah, with a trine to
Jupiter.
Jupiter,
That's
you know,
gonna be
the
fun.
sun and the moon trine Jupiter. I don't think it gets much better than that. I'm not wild about the Mercury square Uranus, because that does seem to insinuate that there is some sudden information or something that comes out right on the transitionary period, 24 hours within this new moon, where we start to realize like what we can and cannot control, or there's news getting out, but it might potentially be restricted. So
the Saturn opposition is definitely an immediate response to suppress. Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
What do you make of the new moon?
Well, honestly, I didn't even see the square. Like, that really is
It's a pretty hard square.
Yeah.
It's reiterating also the fact that Mars will come through and will square that degree.
Right. So, I mean, we know the new moon is an activation. So we're activating new courage, new confidence. We're strengthening new powers that Cancer season activated. So it's going to be a glow up for a lot of people. A lot of people are going to be getting laid who don't get laid. This is going to birth like new confidence in people who probably needed, you know, because there's been such a level up since last year. Leo season, if you think about it, is the first season where we get to go out and show people how we've leveled up. Even though we've been social before, there's just a more pronounced effect during this summer season. So I think with the trine to Jupiter, it's going to initiate a really big boost and push towards creative means and projects that many people have been wanting to, but it's that square though. That square is just very unpredictable.
Well, the Mercury coming into the opposition with Saturn feels very kind of like mentally oppressive and like stop signs and limitations and filtering and things that are
the judges at the talent show.
Yeah,
and a tough crowd.
You know, the square to Uranus is kind of mentally frazzled and things that relate to like stuff short circuiting and things not really working. I would say even in spite of that, the fact that the Sun and the Moon trine Jupiter is quite positive. The fact that also that we are starting to see trines that are going to be building towards Chiron is a really nice expression that through Leo season, individuals feel like they're able to express themselves and start showing some of their natural talents and things that they've been working on. So for a lot of people who have been focusing on shifting their career or shifting their focus in terms of their hobbies and like other things, like now we can start showing other people, maybe even teaching other people. So there's something nice about that. But I feel like the Mars Uranus conjunction square to Mercury really encapsulates ultimately what happens 2 weeks later when we see the full moon in Aquarius. You'll see what I'm talking about because that's like mind-boggling.
Which is a build-up too, and relative to that build-up, that new moon in Leo is an activation point. So it's going to set in place a series of domino effects that will lead to that full moon, which makes this full moon the most karmic full moon of the year. And square the nodes, everything that mostly is happening with Mars is destined. So yeah, Leo season is it. That's
also,
wild.
like on the 29th, like when the moon moves into Leo and it conjuncts Mercury and it opposes Saturn and it squares the nodes and all that Taurus stuff makes me feel like there's a lot of like boastfulness in terms of communication and like challenging the status quo and a lot of like wanting to stand out because Leo is very much the individual and like they're going to put on a show. So it makes me wonder, like, what younger people, what creatives, what artists are coming out and saying in opposition to some of the things that are being, like, put out. I also feel like we're going to hear a lot of drama in regards to celebrities because you can't talk about Leo season without celebrities with oppositions to Saturn.
Do you think most of it will be manufactured?
Yes, I think a lot. I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that's been going on recently has been. I mean, there's no coincidence that while the whole trial was going on for Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, we also had a lot of things that were going on with the Pfizer documents and also the Maxwell trials and...
No list.
Yeah, no list. Nothing.
Just a smack in the face.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And, you know, she got less time than a lot of other
R.
people.
Kelly.
Yeah. R. Kelly got fucked. He deserved it, so...
Okay, so that's the thing, like... the thing about R. Kelly is if he serves all 30 years, that's a whole Saturn cycle. Like, that's a karmic judgment. That's what blew my mind. Like, and if he gets an appeal and he gets out, then that's Saturn's way of saying he really wasn't guilty. So think about that, because did you expect Bill Cosby to leave? So, like, that's the only thing in the back of my mind. Like, will R. Kelly get freed? I don't think so. I think Pluto in his sign has fucked him.
He's got Pluto coming in conjunction with his Venus, right? I think it's, like, in a square to something.
Really?
I think so, something like that.
I know he's a Sag moon, but yeah. So that's the thing where if he's truly innocent, like if they exaggerated stuff, you're gonna see him win an appeal. If not, that's a 30-year karmic Saturnian judgment. So that's just very mind blowing. But no one expected Cosby to leave prison. So that's all I'm saying. Like, anything can happen. Even Ghislaine Maxwell on suicide watch for some reason. So, I mean,
Well, they have to say that because they know that somebody's going to try to kill her and they're going to make it look like a suicide.
Like a suicide, right. Another thing, and please tell me what you think about this. Past the Pluto opposition, the Taurus square is 10th house to Leo.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe if it's because of 6 months worth of returns, a new wave. I can see millions of people entering a new tax bracket because that, right? Huge financial breakthroughs for a lot of people. And based on their own individual efforts, this could be one of your life-changing months in making money, you know, and based off of work you've already done. So I think that's going to be really cool too.
I think the Saturn square to the Mars, North Node, Uranus stuff is like, you know, the government trying to get a hold of inflation and things that are going on with like rising prices, when in reality, like they really aren't going to be able to control things. And we're going to start to really see it affect individuals. And this is like that whiplash effect that's going to be happening over the summer. Because I don't think people are, you know, continuing to live off those really small COVID checks anymore. I feel like people are now going to start really feeling the effects from August really through the fall of like living on credit cards and other things. So, you know, it's challenging when we see all these planets in Leo make oppositions to Saturn, because I definitely we're going to see how it's affecting younger generations and how it's really creating a lot of issues for younger people in terms of being able to like graduate, go into the job market, you know, and feel optimistic about being able to make money. And I think that with the South Node in Scorpio, you know, yeah, IRS and like tax stuff is losing power, but the North Node with Taurus is saying, because they're realizing, you know, people are evading taxes or not paying taxes, or they can't see where money is going, or they can't track cash, they're trying to get it all in a digital system. So it's going to eventually get to a point where they're just going to take your taxes out of your account. You're not going to be able to hide anything. So, you know, people are going to push back against that. And I think that that's going to be just somebody who is self-employed, and also, you know, I have a lot of friends that are entertainers
Taxation
and creatives and stuff. It's just, it's kind of fucked, you know?
The thing that I love about all of this is that if you look at all of these issues, you know what I mean? I mean, Clarence Thomas is a straight gangster in the sense where he did one of the most bold, what's the word? He has balls, because during Pride Month, he said, yeah, we overturn Roe v. Wade. We might overturn same-sex marriage. And that's one of the things that will most definitely incite chaos in this country. Gun control, same-sex marriage, taxes. If you look at all these crazy issues, people are more than ever at the breaking point.
Well, I think it's designed that way, and I think it's really weird that there was this whole move to basically essentially try to ban abortion federally since last year, from what I can see.
Would you say they were trying to ban it, or they're more leaving it to the states?
No, I think there was an incentive knowing that if they left it to the states, that certain states would ban it, and then other states would push legislation to, you know, be able to make it more challenging to get an abortion.
And
but
Texas is serious about seceding.
I think Thomas is one of those people who genuinely thinks he's white, and I like, it's weird to me just to see his behavior and the fact that he's like, yeah, now we did away with this, so what else can we do next? That North Node Uranus square Saturn is quite literally how, you know, the government can dictate what we do with our money, what we do with our resources, what we do with our food, what we do with our bodies. And whether that is our pleasure, and if we do want to partake in same-sex, you know,
the contraceptives
sex.
Part was very mind-boggling. I want to know the angle behind
Well, the
that.
South Node in Scorpio is about removing energy away from abortion.
Purity.
And the North Node in Taurus is more conservative, and it definitely is going to push this agenda of life
Forced
and of
purity
fertility. But I think that it's concerning to me, because like I said, it's a slippery slope. So if they're going to take away rights from women in regards to their reproductive stuff, nobody's going to stop them when it comes to gay marriage, or when it comes to protecting the rights of, you know, transsexual people. I look at Leo and I think that, like, love is love. And so one thing that I really love about Leo season is that there's so many planets with Mercury and the Sun and Venus all coming together in Leo, opposing Saturn and squaring the nodes, saying, like, we love who we love. Whether that's, you know, the same gender, whether that's, you know, our spouse, it's our sister or whatever, people that we want to support. And I think that we're going to see a huge, like I said, like total like creative or like artistic, you know, revolution that's going to begin, that's about trying to focus on love and also like what we need on a heart level.
Which is unfortunate because it's that very same rhetoric that led to this decision. Because, you know, and everything you're saying is right. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, people are going to do the whole love thing.
The darkest before the dawn, though, baby. I mean, if we just having these planets come into Leo square the nodes would have been enough.
That's not enough, though. Like, and that's what people are going to come to a painful realization to. Like, the people who they're protesting to don't have a conscience towards these people. Like, they're saying love is love to people who don't give a fuck about what they think about love. And people have such a different view on it.
But you also have people in politics that are pushing this life agenda when in reality they're not really ensuring that post birth they really have a life. This is all being fed into like a political like vacuum, basically. Just really pushing some kind of agenda, getting their base of Republicans who are uber conservative and super religious, probably within the Bible Belt, to want to get crazy and want to kind of cause a ruckus. And then you've got extremists also on the left that are like, you know, just going deep into all kinds of stuff in regards to like trans and like pro-choice. And like, I feel like we've lost the middle ground in America. You know, we're
severely
seeing extremism.
But you know what? It's interesting because I feel like that silent majority is the middle ground. And those are the people who aren't, not that they have to, but those are the people that aren't vocal. They're the ones observing.
Well, in this case, the middle ground
is being persuaded.
It's being persuaded, and I think that similar to how we see middle class, right? It's evaporating. There is no middle class. The same way that we don't see people who are kind of like centralists in terms of politics. It's becoming extreme on both sides because it's meant to be divisive. So the peak of that is really kind of happening. I mean, I would look for the conflicts and the arguments and the things happening right around the end of July.
But see, everything that Candace said is so important because the point I wanted to make about everything being at a breaking point is all of this is happening while Pluto's about to leave Capricorn, Saturn's about to leave Aqua, Neptune's about to leave, you know what I'm saying? So this is all preparing everyone for civil war.
And it's global because it's the later degrees of all of these signs, especially outer planets, like when we see Pluto, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune.
Especially Saturn.
These planets are all within the third decan. So it's...
And then Saturn in collective, last three signs is, more global than anything. So all of this is coming into a dawning. And this is what I love about what's happening now. Everyone around the world is realizing that you're gonna have to this is all setting up another French-American Revolution. All these people are realizing that their protests are falling on deaf ears. What's the point of repeatedly going out and yelling and nothing happens?
Protests are being curbed. You're being identified as a
terrorist,
a national terrorist if you're protesting. They're also saying that protesting is violence. Protesting doesn't have to be violent. They're confusing protesting with rioting or looting, and I think this is a super fucking slippery slope because in American history, the only way that we got anything done was literally through protests, right? Being able to fight for our rights, showing up at the ballot box. We've had COVID that has restricted that. We have all kinds of voting rights that have been basically taken off the table. We have had voting boxes that have been fucked with. So now, essentially elections are getting thrown to some extent, local or federal, whatever, any way you look at it. And so people are kind of going, well, I'm protesting, and I'm going out there and I'm doing, what I need to do. And I'm banding with certain companies and stuff that are promoting my cause. But in reality, nothing's getting done.
Nothing's getting done. And people are realizing that the only step next is revolution.
Or not paying your taxes.
Or not pay revolution, which is the best revolution. And see, okay, the thing I love about that's it.
They work for us, motherfuckers.
That's it. No.
I hate to be like that. I'm not trying to incite anything, but they work for us.
This is a fact. Uranus and Taurus is teaching you that the best. I love that you said that. Boycott, effective boycotting will turn all of this around.
And this is why people aren't people don't. We're not learning about history. History is wholehandedly being destroyed. If you guys look back into what happened with the Boston Tea Party and everything in regards to taxation without representation and being overcharged and all the things that are going on, all of that revolt that took place
they were
literally
all
led the way
called
for
conspiracy theorists. They were all called delusional. That's the craziest part about that. Like, they were all anti, and these are the same people that if they were here today, you would cancel. That's a
Many of the
fact.
founding fathers were anti-establishment, and they
Right.
were also Freemasons, and they were not religious.
Right, exactly. So like it's just so mind blowing, especially considering we're watching the collapse. It's not it's not televised, but we're watching socially the collapse of a lot of what I don't want to say just this country, because now when I think about this country, I just think of it attached to other territories and nations that were influenced by this revolution of democracy or whatnot, and we're seeing the end to it. So it's very amazing to be alive during this period. And once again, that Uranus and Taurus is the push for revolution. But the test here is with Saturn and Aquarius, this can't happen if people are divided fighting each other. And I'm not pushing to tell people unite. That's not going to happen. Like 2020 showed that no one's going to unite, and these people are going to get away with dividing people more. So like and once it goes into Pisces, we're going to see the effect of where people are going where. So I think a square like this with Mars is acting off on that, and this could actually be the Leo season that sneak peeks and preludes revolution.
Well, I also think like breaking down the conjunction between Mars and the North Node and Uranus, that's an extremely rare conjunction. I've been looking back at this historically.
Yeah.
And that goes back to thousands of years ago when they started, I think it was in Asia, the process of like creating like some of the first real currencies and transactions. The term buck, like dollar, give me a buck, actually comes from when they used to use like leather hides, and they used to use that as the first forms of currency that they would actually trade and exchange.
Nice.
Thousands of years later, we still refer to it as a buck. We put value in that dollar. And that was the last time we had that conjunction. It's interesting that it was in the sign of Taurus, so it literally was from, it was from cows. So what does this mean now? Because the conjunction will have ripple effects throughout the future. As these planets are conjuncting at the end of July, the beginning of August, it doesn't necessarily mean something will happen. Like, can it be some new revolutionary thing in regards to money and resources? Totally. Or energy.
Yeah.
It can be also, an earthquake or a volcanic eruption, but
or maybe all the above.
We don't see the effects of the conjunction until later on when it's aspected, and I would assume this will be like 2023, 2024 when Jupiter goes through these degrees. Uranus will also station at 18, so it'll station and go retrograde at 18. But I really feel like looking at this that it's this realization that wealth is actually a form of freedom.
Yeah.
And being able to have freedom over our bodies, freedom of land, freedom to protect ourselves, freedom to have food and all the basic necessities that we need. And where in January, February, when these conjunctions were happening in Aquarius and it was all about the truckers, the next group that's going to rebel is going to be banking, bankers, farmers, and artists. These are going to be the next group of people who are going to step up, and they're going to challenge Saturn.
Now, when you say artists, because a lot of these mainstream artists are being paid by Saturn. So you're probably talking about indie artists and like people
indie artists or people who practice more traditional forms of art. So I think of like opera singers, people who are ceramists, people who are bakers, people who, natural earthy forms of like artistry. And I feel this really strongly because I'm like a big fan of like traditional art. Like I love pottery, I love sculpture, I love oil paintings, and I'm on the fence about some of this North Node Uranus conjunction stuff that's happening because I feel like, yes, there can be a lot of work that goes into NFTs, but does it have the same craftsmanship as spending 200 hours working on a sculpture made out of marble that you have to make by hand? Probably not. So there's going to be this surge, I think, of this realization that everything's going to digital printing and everything's going to be digital, and like where is the art form in that, and like where are we redeveloping what it means to be like a master artist in these new forms of artistry, but where does it actually pass this forward and like continue to train people how to do or practice more traditional forms of like art. And so that way we ensure that it's not like a dying practice,
carrying on tradition.
Yeah.
And, when we say revolution, we're not necessarily speaking of like one side, right? Like, oh, if you don't believe this, you're not about a revolution. The revolution is really more so this weakening or fall of infrastructure and authority, where like you see everyone with their own unique opinions lashing out, and it's like a power vacuum. And I don't think people realize how close we are to that and how possible that is, because people will look around and be like, that's not possible, that's not gonna happen. But only people who are really paying attention to the economy, who are really paying attention to the news, like, no, anything can happen around this period.
Well, this is also going to materialize as a health crisis. I mean, I won't get too into it, but just the fact that it's happening at 18 degrees, which deals with workers, it deals with animals, pets, it's going to deal with cows and livestock, it's going to deal with the service industry. So
another one.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I think it might be effects from other things. I'll just leave it at that. Neurological issues, fertility issues.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
I think it's effects that people are having as
That's
a result
the coldest part, though. It's literally been about a year and a half, too. Yeah. So that's when, you know, the next couple of years is going to roll out the Piscean effects. So that's going to be a very illusory and, like, you know, unless you Scorpio or Gemini or Virgo, then we'll see through it. But, like, or Sagittarius, right? But, like, that's definitely just very mind-blowing. We also can't forget, of course, I know we mentioned Saturn, but the presence of the Pluto quincunx, I think, is very transformative for how people will live their lives, and social rhetoric or like movements that influence how people live different.
Well, to watch Mars,
probably through shame.
To watch Mars conjunct the North Node with Uranus is like this playing out of like reactions and aggression and anger and violence that's stemming from the past that's coming into the future, or people tuning into that need to fight. But then I'm also watching, as we go through this season, you know, Venus is then going to begin coming into an opposition with Pluto. And so you've got the North Node Lord squaring off with the South Node Lord, and that's gonna create some friction. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I guess the next would then be like August 5th when Mars starts coming into a square with Saturn, where there's repercussions for whatever has been going on. If there has been this financial grab bag, if there has been a run in the crypto markets or whatever, repercussions are going to be coming from that square to Saturn, where they're going to try to lock things down or try to get things from getting too out of hand or wild. I have thought for some time this is going to be like regulation in regards to crypto, which I think is good because that's really the only way forward. But by the same token, it can have some major effects on what is valuable, how we're paying taxes on cryptocurrency, how we're able to actually make money off of it. Like there might be all kinds of new rules and regulations from that. And we're really going to feel that around the 5th because the moon's going to come into conjunction with the South Node and it's going to oppose. So people are getting really adamant about what's mine. Mm-hmm. And then we start to see the sun come into the square with the nodes here.
That'd be crazy if they gave reparations to certain people. Not even based on race, but just like a generation or something like that.
You really think they're going to do that after all the money they've given out? I mean...
Oh, hell no, I don't.
You would think that if reparations were going to come, it would have come during the retrogrades in Capricorn. I would have thought. Because that's about historical, how, you know, people, at least African Americans, have been treated.
They just got Juneteenth instead.
I mean, if we're going to start issuing reparations to African Americans, which I understand... Why is our generation not getting any payback or anything for the economic damage that they've done? Because in a lot of ways, and I'm not saying one trumps the other. I'm not saying that because I'm going to get crucified for this shit. I'm saying that, you know, if African Americans have essentially not really been given any assistance
and
whatsoever.
Specifically descendants of chattel slavery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yet we've had people who have been fucking up politics and economics really for the better part of the last 50 to 80 years, and now we're the ones left holding the bag, where all of these rich fucking Cancer and Leo, Pluto and Leo pieces of shit are just like, oh yeah, I have a ton of money. Like, no offense if you're watching this, but you're part of the problem. So I don't think we're going to see any anything in terms of anything across the board.
No,
I think that the people will
give
campaign on that,
crumbs.
but I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to happen.
No, what they taught Pluto Scorpio was that we have to take it. We have to take what we want. Like, we can't protest for it. We have to take it. And what a lot of people don't realize is there is a silent majority.
Yeah.
When Neptune goes into Aries, you will see what the silent majority has been, you know,
Yeah.
what's been creeping behind the shadows. And that works reflexively, too. We'll see also what the governments and authorities have been doing. But, you know, it's just the way it's all coming to a head. And that's why we have to appreciate Jupiter sneak peeking all of this during all this beta test. And that's where Leo really, I think, is one of the first major breakthroughs next to Virgo and Libra season, because we've been individuating so much. Like, this is the first breakthrough since Aquarius season, you know? And I think, just like a talent show, people are going to come out with new perspectives, new abilities, and it's going to be strong enough with the square to the nodes that it does have the potential to change things through Virgo season. And that's where that Saturn opposition will really work hard to censor the information that comes out. Like the Mercury square to Uranus, I think, which you did allude to, could also be like groundbreaking information that, you know, contradicts a lot of what we were told.
Yeah.
And then Virgo season proves it was right. So, or it was factual.
I would watch for the 8th of August when Venus comes into opposition with Pluto, because you have the South Node Lord versus the North Node Lord.
That's
North
intense.
Node's still conjunct Uranus. Mars is square Saturn. And then 2 days later, when Moon Pluto opposes Venus and the Sun in Leo will square North Node and Uranus, it's fucking on like Donkey Kong. That is the lead up to the full moon.
Yeah.
That in conjunct or the quincunx that you were talking about, also to like anything that's happening, I guess, in the sign of Leo, you'll feel it earlier in the day with the moon. And then it's going to be, Sun square Uranus is like an anything goes day. Especially with the Sun square the nodes. It's like, what does your heart want? Okay, then you need to actually like totally disrupt things and like focus on, I don't know. I hope I'm alive. I'm like looking at this like, oh my God, fucking heart attack. But,
Yo, straight up.
But that's like an anything goes day. Sun square Uranus is you don't know what to expect, and then the Sun square the nodes is like the need to really rise to the occasion and really focus on what your heart is telling you. And then this is the day that I was talking about, the full moon in Aquarius. That's going to be happening at 19 degrees of Aquarius with the moon conjunct Saturn, square Uranus, and we see the return of the Saturn-Uranus square. Same as 2020.
They're not going to square completely, right?
No, I think they get within about less than a degree. So they will get within about 8, they will be like, I think 18 degrees and change, I believe. Yeah, Saturn will go back to 18 degrees. So yes, it will square Uranus within about a degree. Yeah.
Damn.
Won't be exact, but I mean,
But
come
like
on.
within a degree,
Yeah, within a degree. It's still going to be 18 degree and change. So.
Interesting. At higher degrees, though. So
Yeah.
What a conflict. What
That full moon in Aquarius conjunct Saturn says it all to me. The fact that you have the moon conjunct Saturn and it's a moon in Aquarius, the fact that it's also the moon square, the modern day ruler of Uranus at 18 degrees. It's like the biggest plot twist of the year.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, yeah. It's like you go to the talent show and then you realize like nobody wins, the principal wins, or like maybe like one of the students does like this crazy performance and everyone wins because of it, or some groundbreaking stuff. But we also want to know, I think the most iconic part about this full moon is that it's going to involve the passing of the North Node to Uranus, because I feel like the North Node on the opposite side of Uranus really does subtly change the game.
Yeah.
We complete some narrative, and now we're getting ready to focus on Aries.
Well, the moon's going to square the nodes.
Yeah.
So you've got the moon squaring its own nodes, saying that there's a need to really move into the future and release the past and like real serious emotional kind of commitment. And I think that really coming off the full moon is as the sun comes into opposition with Saturn, we realize the harsh reality of the new restrictions that have been implemented and what we actually have to do or what we're required to do. I'm also looking at the fact that Mars is going to be at 25 going into 26 degrees of Taurus. So that's going to reactivate the eclipse that we had in November of 2020. That was at 25, 26 of Taurus,
Right.
conjunct Algol. And it's in polar opposite of the eclipse that we also had in May. That was in Scorpio. So it's activating eclipse points. That Mars is activating eclipse points.
Key facet of this period too is that Mercury in Virgo is already going to be analyzing mad details that when the sun goes through, we're going to be aware of this study was done, this report. So all the analysis is being done in Leo season in advance.
Yeah.
And then I think it's going to retrograde in Libra back to Virgo, right?
Yeah, it'll go, I think, to about 7 or 8 degrees of Libra, and it'll drop back into Virgo, and that'll be in September.
So that sounds like presentation of facts, being like, you bitches were wrong. Wait, let's go back and double check. We did the work. You bitches were wrong. So like that thing, I feel like is going to come to a head. Like it's
Extremists are going to be challenging the status quo. You're going to see that because North Node Uranus is extremist.
But what happens if they have facts?
Well, facts are going to be more when you see Mercury in a trine to Uranus in the North Node, which is setting up mid-August. You see Mercury in a trine to the North Node in Uranus. And you see Mercury coming into a trine with Pluto. So there are some things that are factual that you can't deny. People will deny it because it will oppose Neptune, or people are not emotionally ready.
But if you think about last year, like the facts that came out, we didn't really know what direction to go with to them. I think the trine of Uranus will now make more sense.
And they were still scrambled. You think of like the Pfizer document drops that have happened, which all came out of sequence, and they were on consecutive months, and it took a long time to come out. This time around, that North Node, Mercury trine, and then the Pluto trine, and then Mercury will quincunx Saturn, basically means like facts and science and data is trying to kind of challenge the narrative of what's been put out there. I mean, you know, part of the North Node Uranus conjunction, because the time that happens, the moon will be in Virgo, is going to be real facts and data about how decisions that we've made in regards to health and mandates has physically affected our health, our body, our resources, and our fertility. That's what we're going to be finding out. That's just the astrology. That's not my opinion. That's just literally textbook what it means. You know, and not just our body, but neurologically our nervous system as well, and what we have learned about health and that kind of stuff. I think just kind of wrapping this up, obviously we'll come out of a sun opposed Saturn day, which will be around the 13th, which is like challenges and blocks, and feeling like our energy is being thwarted. But
could be potential for breakthrough.
Definitely.
If you're aligned with integrity.
But look at this day. The moon's conjunct Neptune, quincunx the sun.
Yeah, that's wild.
You know, so there's still stuff that's kind of like being hidden.
Transformation too.
I'm liking the moon trine the sun around the 15th. That's helpful. Awesome. And I'm also...
And also inspirational. You'll get a good idea of how to feel about yourself considering all this, and what more energy to bring on stage.
And then on the 18th, the sun quincunx Pluto.
That could be like career breakthrough.
Yeah.
Because of the 10th house aspect. Yeah. That should be really, that's the conclusion. That should be actually really good. So depending on how you start Leo season 2, it'll lead into a great harvest coming into Virgo season.
And, you know, as we like go from like mid-month, we see Mars trine Pluto, which is kind of interesting because there is this buildup of power that's happening and like momentum, and then Mars is going to change signs. It's going to go into Gemini on the 20th, and it will stay there until February of 2023, because there will be a Mars retrograde. So we'll do more on that in the future. And do my eyes deceive me? Okay, I was going to say, is there about to be 2 new moons in Leo?
Damn, we're going to have a Sun-Mars square? That sucks.
Yeah, immutable signs
right.
too. It's going to be in immutable signs that's going to be happening. So that's not fun. That's still a little... That's obviously going to be the very beginning of Virgo season, but Virgo season is going to start with us, some Mars square. Ew. Ick. And that's pretty much Leo season in a nutshell. You know, I think by the time we get to Virgo season, there's a lot of fact-checking and restabilizing and cleaning up the mess. And by the time we get to... the end of August going into September, the rest of the year is going to be adjusting to what sudden changes and kind of plot twists have materialized over the summer.
Especially considering we start Virgo off with the balsamic phase and new moon. So we're going to come into facts like quick, fast.
Yeah.
So Leo is definitely charging up through the drama. You can easily get distracted, but stay as focused as you can. I think if you think about the trend of these events happening to distract from what's happening, they're going to put on the biggest show possible to still distract. So stay focused and those details will come out Virgo season.
Yeah.
That should be awesome.
Let us know, where is this transit happening for you guys? Are you guys having this in any of your personal placements, especially if you have anything from 17 to 19 degrees of the fixed signs, more specifically Taurus or even Scorpio? It's going to be affecting you the most. Thank you guys always for your likes, your comments, your shares, and for supporting the channel. Whether you want to give a donation, join us for the live readings, or join our memberships, you make it possible for us to keep doing what we're doing. We're not trying to leave you on a cliffhanger, but next week we're going to go through all of the 12 signs, and we're going to talk about where this conjunction of Mars, the North Node, and Uranus is taking place to help give you guys insight as to what you might be expecting in your life. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. Otherwise, we will see all of you guys very soon. Enjoy Leo season. Take
Join
care.
number 3. I'm just like, y'all stay back. Unless you want to do it.
Let's do it.
Peace out, y'all.